The Morton Theater is located in downtown Athens, Georgia. At first glance, it doesn't look much like a theater at all. It looks like any of the other downtown buildings, and you would never actually know it contained a theater until you went inside. In fact, the building itself just says the Morton Building on the side. This goes to show that the building is much more than just a theater. The Morton Theater held many firsts for the city of Athens and its African American community. It is the oldest surviving vaudeville theater in the country. It was built in 1910 by a man named Pink Morton. Morton was born in 1853 to a former slave mother. Through hard work and persistence, Morton overcame the hardships of slavery in his family's past and became a wealthy man. He owned 25 to 30 buildings throughout the city of Athens, Georgia. Morton was appointed the U.S. Postmaster of Athens in the 1890s. He earned the respect of many in Clark County due to his dedication to the job. Morton thought that Athens needed a place where African Americans could come together and celebrate their unique culture. This was the early idea for the Morton Theater and the connected Morton Building. When the grand opening was complete, the Morton Theater was the only theater in the country to be owned and operated by an African American. During the day, the Morton Building held offices for doctors, dentists, and pharmacists. It also housed restaurants, barbers, pool halls, and a funeral home, all of which were owned by African Americans. One of those offices even belonged to the first licensed African American female dentist in Georgia, Ida Mae Harrell. The pharmacy was the first African American owned pharmacy in the city of Athens. It was a hub for the African American community and the centerpiece of Athens' hot corner. During the night, the theater would open and give many great shows for both African Americans and whites. The Morton Theater hosted the likes of Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, and Cab Calloway. After Pink Morton's death in 1919, the Morton Theater continued to be the center of African American culture, but it began to slowly spiral downwards. The theater was in need of renovation. Some of the offices in the building were neglected. There was a fire in the projection booth at the theater, which caused the fire marshal to finally shut down the theater portion. The lower offices and street-level stores in the Morton Building continued to be in operation within the Morton family until the 1970s. In 1980, the property was bought by the Morton Theater Corporation to preserve the building and raise interest for its renovations. Local Athens bands such as the B-52s, REM, and Dream So Real began to use the Morton Theater as their favorite rehearsal spot. REM even used the Morton Theater in their music video for The One I Love. While the theater began to see slightly more use, it was still in no shape to be open to the public. By 1987, the roof of the theater had caved in, but the people of Athens and Clark County were ready to save the theater. They voted to use $1.8 million of their local tax dollars to restore the theater. They knew that the Morton Theater was important to the city of Athens, and the citizens wanted to preserve the theater going into the future. The people used their voice to save the Morton Theater. If the people had not done this, the Morton Theater would have probably just been torn down, but they wanted to save it and tried to do so. To me, this is one of the most important parts of the Morton Theater's history. This place meant a lot to people before me, and when you go visit the Morton Theater, you can feel this. The only reason that it's still standing today is because people enjoyed the reason it was built in the first place, to be a place of gathering and celebration. In 1991, the Morton Theater was once again fully restored and functional. It continues to host concerts, shows, and community events. The Morton Theater holds church services on Sundays and was even a stop on the 2018 Georgia Governor campaign trails. After personally seeing a show in the Morton Theater, I feel that the theater is still accomplishing the original mission that Pink Morton founded it for, to be a place to gather and celebrate. Now it's not just a place for African Americans, but for all people. It is a place where families can come together and spend quality time. It's a place for good, clean fun. Anyone can rent the theater for their own events. It's a place where you can come to voice your opinions or show your many talents. The Morton Theater is a place for all.